At 5:30, Mayor Brown's directive for police to stop arresting people for only possessing minor amounts of marijuana comes as the state works on legalizing the drug.
And at the very same time, though, debate continues to rage on whether the state is just condoning another gateway drug that leads to abuse of stronger and even more addicting drugs. Channel 2's Dave McKinley takes a closer look tonight.
We do see it as a gateway.
And kids escaping drugs will tell you, based on their experience, there's no doubt about it.
All our kids on the campus come to us having been drinking, smoking marijuana, and a lot of them smoking cigarettes. That's what they started with, sometimes as young as 7 and 8 years old.
Now that sounds like some pretty strong evidence, but it is anecdotal. So what do the studies say?
The Centers for Disease Control reports regular marijuana users are 3 times more likely to become addicted to heroin, but noting the vast majority of those who use marijuana never progress to using other illicit drugs, the National Academy of Sciences Institute of Medicine says there is no conclusive evidence that the effects of marijuana are causally linked to the subsequent abuse of other illicit drugs, prompting researchers at the National Institute on Drug Abuse to conclude that the direct answer to the question is maybe.
There's definitely a correlation.
Most studies show marijuana use almost always precedes the use of harder drugs. But what is not clear is that using one somehow causes the use of the other. And as scientists often say, correlation is not the same as causation. On that, there's only theories.
One holds that if you're buying pot right now, you're doing so on the black market from a drug dealer, who invariably may offer you something else to try.
That same theory holds that if you could buy it legally at a store where they're not also offering crack or meth or heroin, then you likely would not progress to those harder drugs. Even the state's top decision makers waffled on this question. For most of his time in office, Governor Cuomo referred to pot as a gateway drug, even when opposing its use for medical purposes. When he relinquished on that, he still called it a gateway drug in opposing its recreational use. Until last year, when he reversed course again, pressured by his primary opponent Cynthia Nixon's call to legalize, while noting the tax money being lost to surrounding states who were legalizing and a finding by his state health department that the benefits for the state outweighed the potential drawbacks.
According to researchers, part of the difficulty in coming up with a definitive answer to the gateway question is that there's no way to conduct a randomized experiment with humans, especially children. In other words, there's no ethical way just to give them some marijuana and see what happens.
And Dave, there's also concern that with it being legalized, there would be more availability and making it a bit more acceptable, and some concern with what that could mean.
Sure, and that's why even those who don't fear some sort of reefer madness erupting might advocate for warnings against its use, especially by kids, much like already exists for legal and widely available alcohol and tobacco products.
Right. Continue to cover the story, Dave. Thank you very much.